Hello and welcome everyone for joining us for our UK Innovate January webinar on the UK Innovation Connect team, Intro to Industry Partnering for Research Collaborations. A few housekeeping items. Please keep your microphones muted as we are live captioning and recording, and we will provide a link to the recording after the webinar. You do have the opportunity to put questions in chat. You can send those directly to me, Jackie Green, or to everyone, and we'll ask those at the end of the presentation. It is my pleasure to introduce the Executive Director of UK Innovation Connect, Landon Borders. Landon, I hand it over to you.
All right, thanks, Jackie, and welcome everyone here today to our presentation on industry partnering for research collaborations. And I really like to kind of ground our conversation, as I do when I'm meeting with various industries and businesses across the state and region, with our mission statement here, because I think I'm highlighting a few areas here, but they're the areas that folks often don't know and understand about the University of Kentucky, and that is that we are a land grant university, and that we aspire to disseminate, share, and apply our knowledge, and to contribute to the economic development and quality of life within Kentucky's borders. And I bring that forward because that's often a surprise, and it's a pleasant surprise, and it's a part of this job that I really enjoy in talking about the University of Kentucky and our research mission. In terms of driving impact, if there's one thing that I want you all to take away from this presentation today is that our group, Innovation Connect, wants to see a greater impact on our research outcomes. And we believe the best way to do that is to engage early with our industry partners and to support our fantastic group of innovators here at the University of Kentucky. But we measure impact in various ways. First is it's in a research awards, and we've experienced a tremendous growth rate of 8.6% since 2015 here at the University of Kentucky. And just last year, we had $453 million of research grants and contracts. We see that those outcomes as patent applications that are filed, and we had 143 of those last year. We see that 772 million of investments were made as an output of our research, including 4,000 plus scientific jobs that were supported. Other ways that we make impact are through licensing agreements, and we execute about 25 of those on average per year. And another way that we see our research impacting others and industry is through startups. And we create about 4 to 6 new startups formed each year from the University of Kentucky, which is fantastic. I want to share some data with you, and what we're looking at here on the left is a pie chart that represents university or higher education R&D expenditures in terms of sources. So there on the right, you'll see that 50% of expenditures in R&D at higher education comes from federal grants. And you'll see the next largest chunk there from higher education and so on. Businesses represent just 6%, non-federal at 6%, and nonprofits at 10%. But I want to draw your attention to the chart on the right, which shows how that is changing over the last 10 years, from 2010 to 2019. The growth in federal and non-federal government funding is growing at a much smaller rate than those coming from businesses, higher education, or nonprofits, which have been accelerating. And of these federal funding programs, many of those today are prioritizing partnerships. We've heard a lot coming from the NSF through the Accelerator Program, the Regional Innovation Engines, the Industry University Cooperative Research Centers, but also from ARPA, ARPA-H, ARPA-E, two relatively new funding agencies, the Build Back Better program with EDA, the Common Fund at NIH, and so on. So we see a lot of the trend in federal funding dollars now prioritizing industry partnerships and research impact. I also want to talk a little bit about some specific legislation that passed last year, and that's the CHIPS Plus and Science Act. And I think the headline was about onshoring microchips to the United States, but really there was a large portion of that was for the National Science Foundation, Department of Commerce, and Department of Energy. And kind of working down this list here, the NSF, was appropriated $36 billion, 80% over baseline, and a significant part of that was towards the NSF TIP program, which is Technology Innovation and Partnerships, and that's the first new directorate at NSF in many, many years. Also, the Department of Commerce was authorized 50% over baseline, and one of those programs specifically included there was a new EDA program intentionally to build technology and innovation hubs around the United States. And finally, with the Department of Energy, we saw another 35% increase over baseline there. And one program that was outlined specifically was to develop low CO2 emission production of steel, among other efforts with R&D. Now, those are the authorizations that we also saw an omnibus spending bill that passed just in December to appropriate portions of the funding for this fiscal year. So the money has been appropriated for a lot of these programs. So why do we want to partner as a university? Well, first, what we see is that use-inspired, partner-oriented research really enhances the impact of those outcomes. So starting with the problems and working together to solve them results in a greater amount of impact. And when we work together to solve those problems, it advances our businesses and therefore our economic development agendas, and certainly for the state of Kentucky. And here at the university, we see that these partnerships create this connecting fabric across the various disciplines here, because we know that it's often requires a transdisciplinary effort to solve big, complex problems. And then finally, partnerships are really advancing the trust that we're building with our industry partners, which result often in collaborative research funding or sponsored projects, which is always good too. So what's in it for our industry partners? Well, we see that it's a great opportunity to advance their business and product development priorities. Oftentimes, businesses have a backlog of projects that they need to work on and have to prioritize often the product development over the fundamental research. We also have lots of labs and equipment here that we can make available to businesses to advance their priorities. Research studies and clinical trials, obviously, when there's new drugs that are being developed. Access to institutional knowledge and domain expertise exists here at the university and may not be in industry. We also know that talent is very important to industry, and we see that these types of collaborations are great for raising brand awareness. The more that our students know about companies that are working with us, the more likely they are to land those talents. Also, our university is really good at accessing federal grants. A lot of businesses don't have that type of expertise. So partnering with us on research collaborations is also an added advantage to them. And then finally, accessing new technologies. So, again, we're talking about outcomes here, and making our technologies available for licensing and other types of agreements with businesses is advantageous for them. So now I want to talk a little bit about our group. We represent UK Innovate, which is the innovation, entrepreneurship, and economic enterprise here at UK. There's really these four pillars. Innovation training, which offers programs offering translational research, product development, and entrepreneurship training and coaching for our faculty, staff, and students here. Skipping ahead, we have our technology commercialization resources here, including our commercialization resources for UK Technologies, our startup programs for LaunchBlue and UXL, our IP team, our contracts team, are all there and are fantastic partners and are represented in our group And finally, social innovation, which is where we scale ideas to find solutions to create social impact from research and discovery. This is another new resource here at UK Innovate, and I would highly encourage you to take advantage of Dr. Wright and her expertise. But here we're going to spend the rest of our time talking about Innovation Connect, which is our group supporting industry partnership, nonprofit and private sector for research and innovation. So we're new. We were established in March of last year, really kind of with two areas of focus. The first is to support industry and private sector partnerships specifically for research and innovation and to promote economic development in our innovation ecosystem. We really have four main goals, and I'll take you through those over the next few slides here before I turn it over to some of my colleagues to talk more about their specific areas and to provide some additional examples. But first, we aspire to build long-term mutually beneficial partnerships. And that's very important to grow those partnerships and expand here on campus. And we'd like to see that result in more impact, more funding, and a broader portfolio of partners. We talked about impact, and to do that, we have to build a pipeline of opportunity to enhance the impact of our intellectual property. So to build those relationships that lead to more projects that lead to more impact. We want to make it easier for our partners to work with us and for our faculty and staff to work with industry. University of Kentucky is a very large enterprise, and there's a lot of faces here. So we want to create new processes, create connections that make working with industry much easier. And finally, we want to see the R&D footprint grow in and around our ecosystem here at UK. And there's a number of ways that we aspire to do that. So what are we doing in terms of building these long-term relationships? Well, we see that industry consortia is a great way to do that when there's a group that has some level of consensus on research priorities and innovation priorities. We love working with them. We're a founding member of the Metals Innovation Initiative, which is really kind of pulling together vast resources here in the state, supporting metals manufacturing and innovation. And we see that as just one example of great consortial work that we're doing here. We also like to work with our other industry-facing partners to really broaden the impact here on campus and the opportunities here. We're a part of a One UK group that's advancing a new program intended to build holistic partnership engagements for our strategic partners. And that's, with our business engagement, our economic development, our philanthropy groups, our student success groups, and working together to kind of to serve the university as one. And also we want to provide responsive and impactful engagement experiences. A lot of times our faculty are doing so many different things, and it's really hard to be responsive to industry in a manner that is conducive to their type of work. So our office is there. We are that conduit and can provide that type of responsiveness that's expected. In terms of building a pipeline, we love events. We're here today, right, to talk about the things that we're doing. But we like to create events and forums, and especially those that are bringing our communities together with our innovators and also our funding agencies. And for example, we're hosting the first ever Kentucky Innovator Challenge in April, where we'll have executives from around the state and our region to talk about their businesses, their priorities, and the big problems that are keeping them up at night, that are best solved through collaborative research and innovation. We'd love to be proactive and reaching out to industry to tell that story that I started off with at the beginning of this slide about our mission, our research enterprise and resources here that are interested in partnering and making an impact on those businesses, and providing connections to broader research opportunities. Again, I mentioned that the University of Kentucky has great resources here at accessing federal funding, and really we want to help our industry partners take advantage of those programs, working with us to win those big research awards. In terms of making it easier, I mentioned already about championing these federal funding opportunities, the regional innovation engines, for example, the big complex programmatic funding opportunities that necessarily require industry partnering. So we do a lot of recruiting, a lot of support in the proposal development when we can add value to that process. I already mentioned about being a single point of contact for our research innovation initiatives to try to be as responsive as possible. We just had a deadline that we were working against yesterday, actually working with a partner in Washington, D.C. And we're glad that we could pool resources from a lot of different areas to meet the needs and their deadlines, for example. And to finally streamline new processes that make sense. Again, looking for ways to kind of break down barriers and complications that are often encountered when partnering with industry to try to streamline processes, contract negotiations, whatever it might be that's hindering progress when partnering with the university. And in terms of growing our R&D footprint, we work closely with our Cabinet for Economic Development, our kind of regional cities and commerce departments to recruit and onboard businesses to our state, because University of Kentucky and our research enterprise and resources here are adding a lot of value to the economic development propositions for our state, and we work with them to really brag on the folks that are here, our resources and researchers at the University of Kentucky. And we also want to leverage investments in our new and enhanced facilities. For example, here, the core research building, we had a group in just a few weeks ago that we had reached out to really entice them to come work with us, be a part of the UK community and take advantage of our beautiful research facilities. If you've not been to the core building, I would encourage you to go check it out at Coldstream. So that's just a few examples. I want to get into some introductions here, starting with Chelsea Exlebesky. She's the brand new, just started last week, UK Innovation Connect Manager supporting the College of Medicine. We're so grateful to have her and her experience here at the University of Kentucky. And at this time, I'll turn it over to Chelsea to talk more about herself and some of the things we're doing for the College of Medicine.
All right. Thanks, Landon, for the introduction and the great overview of our office. Well, good afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. As Landon mentioned, I am brand spanking new to not only the university, but also to Kentucky. So I am from Charleston, South Carolina originally, went to Clemson University. My background is in bioengineering with a materials background. So you may be asking yourself, why are you in College of Medicine? I worked for 8 years at the Medical University of South Carolina in Charleston in the innovation office, assessing intellectual property, working to establish industry partnerships, not only for our technology assets, but for the broader MUSC ecosystem. I also supported our startup company program. I worked a lot with small business grants, SBIR and STTR grants, for those of you that are familiar with those. And I'm very passionate about that program. And then I most recently was at a small medical device company startup in Brooklyn, New York, supporting their business in a variety of manner. And I'm just really happy to be here. So Landon, if you will go to the next slide, please. So again, I'm brand new to the university, to the College of Medicine. So really over the next 3 to 6 months, I'm going to be doing a lot of outreach. So I will probably be, if you are on this call with College of Medicine or one of their support functions, you will be hearing from me. So I plan to meet with department chairs to really understand the research priorities within the departments, as well as department-wide meetings. I want to be meeting directly with faculty members and researchers. I want to understand what you're doing. I want to hear about your interest. I want to hear about your current engagement with industry, if you have it, and if you have a desire, what your interests are, so I can really help to serve your needs and your interests. I'll also be meeting with the multidisciplinary centers. I know that those pull from other colleges, but really want to understand the really exciting research and work going on there. Again, as well as the support teams to research and clinical trials. So the Clinical Research Services Office. I actually just met with the Proposal Development Office this morning. So really getting a lay of the land into all the support centers here on campus to really support research and innovation. As Landon, indicated, it's a large university, and so understanding the various players and how to best work with our faculty members and industry when they come in to help facilitate very efficient and smooth conversations. I'm also really interested in meeting with the medical students, graduate students, and residence groups, as Landon alluded to, talent pipeline and understanding industry needs. And if we can connect with industry to say, hey, these are the really great programs in our young up and coming workforce, that is important to me, as well as educating these, these young professionals on how they can engage with industry and research and innovation as they move forward in their career, and others. So if any of you all on this call have groups you think I should talk to, please reach out to me. You can always email, always call. I want to be a sponge right now and be just as responsive as possible to you all, and as we kind of move forward. So thinking about what are these conversations, what is really the purpose of these, is I really want to understand the research goals and the needs, so I can really help facilitate researchers build industry relationships. So again, being reactive to industry coming in to the university, but also as we go out and proactively search for industry relationships, really understanding what's going on at the university so I can essentially market our capabilities and really the strong expertise here at the university. And as Landon mentioned, again, really educating, developing and supporting additional processes to really promote and enable these partnerships. So if we think about, next slide, please, Landon. So if we think about what are the partnership opportunities with industry, I think two of the really common ones that people probably think of pretty often are clinical trials, which, yes, absolutely, we do want to continue to focus on, as well as sponsored research programs. But I've just highlighted a handful of examples here of other ways, we can engage with industry. So similar to the challenge that Landon is running, so a reverse pitch, bringing industry in, bringing a pharmaceutical company in, a medical device company in, highlighting their needs, or having a panel of companies and saying, these are what we need from research and our collaborators, and tapping into our own expertise here on campus. In the opposite realm, having a research symposium where we bring experts from our cancer center, from our micro and immunology center, and do a pitch day where we pitch to industry and say, this is what we're doing. I'm also here for industry letters of support. If you're writing a grant, if you need just an industry letter of support, maybe on a small business grant, happy to help with those. Again, I've had a lot of experience with small business grants, whether you have your own startup company or maybe you're interested in partnering with a startup company or finding that company to help advance your research. We're here for that as well. Co-development projects. So starting at a really early stage where maybe there isn't any intellectual property, but you want to work with a company to develop something. Again, working with OTC to license your intellectual property that you've developed. Also thinking a little outside the box. If thinking about having industry speakers to come to an event, symposia, or to a class, we can help find keynote speakers. Again, looking at the talent pipeline, and then also looking at much broader strategic partnerships. And then there are other ways we can engage with industry. So just wanted to kind of, highlight opportunities that I see for College of Medicine. And, as an example, we are currently in discussion with a pharmaceutical company who is currently running clinical trials here, and they have reached out to our office and are really, really interested in establishing a much more robust strategic partnership that not only includes clinical trials, but research as well. So that's a very tangible and current example of a project that our office is working on. So with that, I'll wrap it up. I am, again, super excited to be here. I look forward to working with all of you on campus in the College of Medicine. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to my wonderful colleague, Kim Sayer. She is our Innovation Connect Manager for College of Engineering. And Kim, take it away.
Thanks so much, Chelsea. Again, I'm Kim Sayer. I support the College of Engineering. My background is in industrial engineering and also have an MBA. I'm also a licensed professional engineer. I've worked in the College of Engineering for over 20 years now, but prior to coming to the university, I worked in industry. I worked at Texas Instruments as well as Boeing, and it is my pleasure to help facilitate industry connections for researchers. About two specific programs that are exclusive to the College of Engineering. I'm going to ask some of my friends from the faculty members to actually talk about some of their experiences. So next slide, Landon. This slide outlines a unique opportunity for faculty in the College of Engineering that are working with industry, and they have questions about intellectual property, licensing agreements, and how much these things would cost. We are piloting some pre-negotiation intellectual property agreements from some very simple menus. This may not look simple. We're not going to go through this detail. If anybody has such an arrangement that they think might be interesting, I'd be happy to talk in more detail with them about this. But companies can pay upfront for certain licensing agreements in advance of the intellectual property being developed. And it's exclusively for being piloted and exclusive to the College of Engineering. The next program that I wanted to talk about is our industry extension projects. The next slide. Yes, thank you. And this is a program to help companies and faculty work together outside of full-up research type projects. So something that's more of a demonstration of capability, a testing or evaluation analysis, or consulting kind of an agreement of a project, and it involves running that through my office. I handle all the project administration. There are no indirect fees. There's a 5% administration fee. These projects are limited to projects with no intellectual property contribution. In other words, not research projects. There is not a specific dollar limit, but if it is something going to be over 50,000 or so, I would recommend to break it up into phases. There are no contracts or agreements that are required, although sometimes companies may have agreements or forms that they require, but there's none on our side of it. So this is a very simple way to get you and companies working together without a lot of bureaucracy. And it's very straightforward. So again, if you think you may have a potential project like this, I'd be delighted to talk more about that. Next, I'd like to bring in some of our faculty members that have used our services in Innovation Connect. The first one I wanted to start with is Dr. Shu Jin, who has done a lot with our team on helping him provide letters of support for his research grants. Unfortunately, Dr. Jin had a class during this webinar time, but he was kind enough to record his remarks on the video, which we'll now share.
So Kim has some interesting and excellent strong connections with industries that can help us as faculties to get some support letters from the industry. But there may be some recommendations from my side, from my experience, that may be helpful to share with you guys. So my first suggestion is to really start a process from an early stage, preferably something like 1 to 2 months before the submission deadline. This is really to give him some additional time to connect and communicate with the industry partners so that they can have some feedbacks, they may have some questions, and all this need time to resolve. And also at the same time that we can communicate with Kim, it is better for us as faculty members to prepare a list of the partners that may be interested to us, or maybe to help Kim to identify which partners to start with and be prepared for the failures, which means some industry partners may not really, for any reasons, provide any letters for collaborations or letter of support. So in that case, it is probably better for us to prepare a list with several potential partners to start from, so that it may connect and communicate with all of them and get some letters back. And in the meanwhile, when we communicate with Kim, it is better for us, for our faculty members, to prepare a list, an overview of what we are doing in our proposals. And this is really not an overview for the funding agencies. It is really an overview for the industries, which means that this overview has to be industry facing, and it has to explain from the industry perspective, from the industry interest, about how our research can benefit them. So it is really interesting and important for us to prepare this kind of overview documentation. And sometimes it will be beneficial for us to talk to the industry directly, either in person or Zoom. Also, sometimes the Kim also participated in this kind of conversation for us to introduce our research. So it is important for us to really introduce ourselves, providing an overview to help Kim connect and talk to the industry partners about what we are doing at UK. So my suggestion.
So in summary, again, we're happy to reach out to industry and help find letters of support for your grant proposals. And starting that process.
So I believe we lost Kim. Oh, there she's back.
So sorry about that. I was simply saying start the process early, because companies do need time to run, to get those requests processed. The next faculty member I'd like to ask to share comments is Dr. Julia Shoup, who has extensively used our industry extension program, the streamlined process for industry projects.
Yeah, thanks, Kim. So yeah, I'm really happy to just give a testimony and really encourage anybody that hasn't already worked with Kim to reach out and take advantage of this. I think for me personally, this has been really a huge force multiplier. It's something that if I talk to faculty from other universities, including sort of our next tier peers, Michigan, Purdue, Georgia Tech, they don't have this kind of mechanism. They don't have the ability to work with the company and get a small project started without having to go through a huge amount of paperwork, without having to go through all of the really complicated IP issues. So having all of that streamlined, I think again has been a real competitive advantage in the sense that we can reach out to companies. I work, like Kim mentioned, extensively with different companies. And the way that I've sort of been leveraging this mechanism is to get an initial project with the company and then continue working with that company, getting letters of support, getting a full, let's say, OSPA, federally funded kind of project. We've gotten, STTR funding, NSF, Department of Energy. So we've really used this to be in the pipeline to help us, get our foot in the door with the company, when they might not be ready to give us hundreds of thousands of dollars right off the bat. So starting with the small program and then sort of being able to expand it has been really very beneficial. And yeah, I'm very grateful. I think the help and the support that Kim and Landon and their office have provided really, I think have been, a very big contributor to the projects and even the federal projects that we now have. So yeah,
Great.
highly recommend taking advantage of this.
Thanks so much. Next, I'd like to ask Professor S.K. O'Brien, who happens to be in the College of Engineering, but had an opportunity or a need for her students to participate in some factory tours, and they were the kinds of factories that I have deep relationships with. And so we worked together to put together some requests and got a very positive response from companies to go visit those those plants to understand the different kinds of processes that her students would be looking at. So I'll turn it over to SK.
Thanks, Kim. As Kim mentioned, it's my second year at UK. I'm in the new product design department within the College of Design. And this year we are teaching materials and processes for the first time for our now juniors, our first class. And I reached out to Kim in November, seeing if she could help me schedule some factory tours for this class, because going out in the real world and seeing things done, I think, is one of the best ways to learn. And it's been so wonderful working with her. We now have 10 factory tours scheduled, and making that connection and being able to access the resources that Kim already has set up has just been really made everything flow really smoothly. And I highly recommend, thinking outside the box. It doesn't have to be a big grant or a giant task. It can be something more straightforward, like a factory tour that's beginning to build relationships for your department. And that's a pretty amazing resource. And I really appreciate Kim's help going outside of her college to help us in the College of Design. Thank you.
Thanks, SK. And next, I wanted to ask Dr. David Heron to talk about his experience with, he runs a lot of the senior capstone design project courses. And we've worked together on that and some other, a number of other things. And I wanted to ask him to just share his experiences as well with you.
Happy to, and thanks, Kim. Yeah, a couple of things about that. Kim has especially helped us, first of all, in identifying projects. She typically identifies two or three each semester for us, and they have tended to be especially good projects too. Additionally, after identifying a project, she also has been assisting us on getting any IP issues addressed and taken care of as well. And bear in mind that as far as the capstone goes, we have not had a patent from this course ever at this point. Okay, that I'm aware of. Additionally, too, Kim has also established a funding portal for us and has assisted us in getting funding from a company into the college to support teams. And maybe as a final thing as well, she has also, of course, after that, been involved a lot of times in finding jobs for the kids too. And so a lot of times the senior project gives the student an opportunity to then shine and then identify employment opportunities. So especially thanks a lot, Kim, for your efforts and all of that.
Thank you, David. Thanks for your kind remarks. And next, I ask Dr. Hassan Poonawalla to talk about some of his experiences. We've worked together in a number of areas, and I'll just turn it over to him to make some remarks about that.
Sure. I'll echo what Dr. Shoup said. Kim is definitely a force multiplier in terms of the opportunities we get to be aware of. Attention is scarce. I'm chasing a lot of federal opportunities, and with her help, I know a lot more about local industry opportunities and Kentucky relevant opportunities I wouldn't know otherwise. So for example, there's an AI consortium in Kentucky that she's connected me with, local companies. There's a company called Gray Solutions. These were definitely off my radar, but thanks to her, a lot of the work she does, I know of these companies and I can see or seek ground opportunities or letter writing, support letter opportunities. And one of the biggest things recently was a company wanted to donate a robot, and she took care of everything. So I really don't know all of the effort she put in. I don't know half the steps she executed. She works really hard. And with a few emails, maybe 1 day's of effort, I now have about $100,000 to $200,000 equipment in my lab, thanks to her. So she's helped me secure a lot of connections and equipment support, and I really appreciate what she does. You should definitely use her as a resource in your research.
Thanks so much, everybody. Again, we just wanted you to hear directly from other faculty to understand that we're here to help. We're open to the kind of services that Landon has outlined, as well as anything else that we might be able to help with. So if you think of nothing else, just think about if it has anything to do with industry, just reach out. We'd be happy to chat with you to see if there's something we can bring to the table and add some value to your efforts. So with that, I'll turn it back over to Landon.
Thank you. I'm advancing our slides here. Sorry about that. So just wanted to thanks Kim and thanks Chelsea for those comments, and certainly the testimonials were pretty amazing. Really appreciate everyone joining us to provide some examples of how we can partner with industry to advance our research innovation priorities. Just a few closing remarks before I get there. I do want to echo what Jackie mentioned earlier. We're going to stick around for a little Q&A. So please, if you have any questions, if there's something we've not touched on that you would like to ask, please send Jackie your questions in chat. She's going to moderate that Q&A for us. But just two more things to close on. You know, we were talking to a group the other day, and they wanted to know when and how, right? So when should we reach out to your office? And the answer is the earlier the better, but it's never too late. And I think you heard that come through in some of the testimonials we heard earlier today, but do reach out to us if you have any questions. If you have aims to partner with industry or want to understand more about why you would want to do that, please do contact us. The way you do that is you just reach out to us. You can email us, call, stop by. You can direct general inquiries to me if you'd like, but if for College of Engineering or maybe even College of Design, as we saw earlier, reach out to Kim. College of Medicine, please direct those to Chelsea. And also, shameless plug, we are hiring another Innovation Connect manager for CAFE, and we'll have that dedicated resource very soon. And then finally, thank you. I want to thank Jackie, the folks that have joined us here today, my amazing team, the folks that are on this call or not on this call, that are working behind the scenes tirelessly to support our research and innovation and entrepreneurship ecosystem here at UK. And I want to give special thanks to the Innovation Connect partners, College of Engineering, College of Agriculture, Food and Environment, and the College of Medicine. At this time, I will stop sharing and turn it over to Jackie to moderate Q&A.
Thank you, Landon, and thank you all for that wonderful information. We do have some questions, and as Landon said, if you have questions, please put them in the chat and I will ask those. The first question is, Landon, can you expand more? You have a dedicated person for engineering, one for College of Medicine, hiring for CAFE. What about those who aren't in those colleges that are interested in getting involved with UK Innovation Connect?
Yeah, great question. I would encourage you to reach out to us. We are a resource for the university. We want to support the entire university and our research ecosystem here. I would just encourage you to reach out to me and start here, and I'll do what I can to support you the best I can, or connect you with other resources that are able to work with us together.
Thank you, Landon. Question, Kim, this is probably more directed at you. This is from your comments that you made. The question is, how much might it cost for a company to support a capstone project?
That's a great question, and it depends on a few variables. Certain departments have set rates that they already have identified, and others leave it simply to cover the cost of the project. So it depends on how much materials would be needed to accomplish the project. There's never any fees for the labor, but the students generally have to build a prototype, and so that would depend on the kinds of costs that would be involved. So you could imagine something that's going to be highly automated or what have you, need a lot of automation controls, might be more expensive than some simple mechanical design. The College of Engineering does have a capstone page that has information about certain majors that have capstone courses and have regular kind of rules and guidelines. And I'll put that in the chat here in just a moment, but feel free to have people reach out to me because it can be sort of a case-by-case situation.
Thank you, Kim. Landon, we had a question. Someone was really interested in learning more about the Kentucky Innovator Challenge. Can you talk a little bit more about that? And I'll also put a link to our landing page in the chat.
Sure, yeah, happy to do that. We're super excited about this. It's on April 11th here at the University of Kentucky in the Harris Ballroom, and we have a roster of 12 industry executives from around the state and the surrounding regions that'll be here that day to give TED Talk style presentations outlining their businesses, who they are, their customers, their vision for their businesses, and most importantly, those problems and challenges that are best solved through collaborative research and innovation. We've got a couple of federal funding agencies that'll be represented that day, and some keynotes from UK leadership and elsewhere. There'll be several networking events throughout the day, and there'll be a reception at the end. There is limited seating. I think we've got 150 tops. So I know Jackie has provided that link, and would certainly invite Kentucky partners, research partners from other universities, industry partners, startups, to come join us that day.
Thank you, Landon. We have someone who's an extension agent for 4-H in Cumberland County. And they have been working on a process to develop their industrial park, and he's working on a business case for a TVA grant, just trying to figure out ways that they can target people in the community to help them grow the local economy there. And if you guys have any recommendations on that or can assist in any way.
Yeah, thanks for that question, Elijah. It's good to see you and representing South Central Kentucky down there in Cumberland County, Burkesville area. That's a great question. I can tell you that we do work closely again with the Cabinet for Economic Development. There's all sorts of programs that they're working on that either exist today or are building. I think the starting point again is to reach out to me. Happy to talk to you about that. I know there's a lot of product development incentives right now for areas like yours that you've described here. And I know they're keen on making those investments around Kentucky to have build-ready property for businesses as they come into the area. And I'm happy to promote South Central Kentucky and Cumberland County as a place for businesses to come. So if you want to talk to me about the type of demographic, type of businesses you're looking to attract, I can add that to my talking points when I'm out visiting with industry.
Thank you, Landon. We have a couple more questions before we end. A very relevant question is whether or not anyone is investigating ChatGPT and similar AI tools and the role they may play.
I'd be happy to take that. I just sent a reply in the chat specific. It would be good to understand the specific use case, but definitely we do have faculty members, mostly in the College of Communications, that are working on AI tools around language models for dialogue. We pulled them in when we had the Artificial Intelligence Innovation Consortium members here. And so, and we've actually made introductions with some companies that had some needs in this space. So I'd be delighted to chat more about what that use case is and try to make the right connections.
Yeah, and I would like for somebody to investigate why Chat GPT is down a lot recently. I'd love to see that back online so I can continue to ask it really silly questions.
Thanks, Kevin Landon. Last question. This person says that they have subscribed to the Proposal Development Office's information on grants, but wondering if there's other resources to get information on grants that they might be able to participate in.
I can take that one. I think that's a great question. We do have an ear to the ground a lot of times about new opportunities coming down the pike. I mentioned one earlier. We anticipate a new EDA Technology Hub program that'll be announced soon. We also, as I mentioned, we'd like to invite some of these federal grant funding representatives to come talk to us from time to time. Just in May of last year, I believe it was, we had Director Erwin Guyan-Chandani from the NSF TIP came to talk to us and was kind of previewing a lot of the content that ultimately resulted in the NSF Regional Innovation Engine solicitations. So we love having those types of forums. I think another plug I would like to make is if you have good projects that have mutual interest with our faculty expertise and businesses and driving business priorities, come talk to us, because our PDO resources are also fantastic about understanding the potential of these projects and finding funding resources that you may have previously been unaware of. So that's been a really good program that we've kind of been piloting this last year and we're happy to expand upon.
Thank you, Landon. And I'll give you each an opportunity to say some final words before we close out the webinar.
I'll go first. You know, again, we're here. We'd love to talk to you, love to meet with you. You know, I'd like to reiterate something that Chelsea touched on. If you want us to come talk to your groups or your businesses, depending on who you are here on this call, we'd love to do that. We like talking about UK Innovate. We like talking about our office in particular and discuss the various ways that we can partner. Chelsea?
Yeah. Just want to, say thank you again, Landon and Kim. Want to reiterate, my excitement to be here on the UK Innovate team and working with the broader UK university system. I've already had a handful of people reach out to me, which is really exciting. And as Landon said, if you don't currently have a dedicated person and are still interested in working with our group, please reach out. Obviously, with College of Medicine, there's going to be a lot of collaboration with College of Pharmacy and other health-centered colleges. So, I'm just really excited to dive in and see the really exciting work that everyone is doing. Kim?
And finally, just thank you so much for taking the time today to learn about these resources, to learn about what we do. And I especially want to thank our faculty panel for talking about their experiences in working with us. And hopefully spreading the word to other faculty members about these opportunities. And again, we also appreciate any industry people that are on the call today that are learning more. We really appreciate your time.
Thank you, Landon, Kim, and Chelsea. Thank everyone for attending. Would like to encourage you to join us for our February OTC webinar on February the 16th, a deep dive into the innovation disclosure process. Matt Upton, our Senior Associate Director for Intellectual Property Development, will talk about the entire process and what you can expect once you've submitted an innovation disclosure. And I will send out the link to the recording as soon as we have it up on the YouTube channel. And we look forward to seeing you at our next event. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.